You're listening to The Monetized Mom, the podcast that teaches moms of faith how to monetize their expertise online to create influence, impact, income, and more importantly, financial independence. I'm your host, Flo Alexander. Let's chat. Hey mama, if you're listening to this, I know one thing about you. You want to be able to exit your corporate career so that you can spend more time with your spouse and kids, have the freedom to travel and live life on your own terms, all while creating real transformation and impact in the lives of others with your expertise. Well, you're in luck. I just released a new case study on the method moms are using to build a profitable online business, make a full-time income from home, and quit their 9-to-5. You can access it now at themonetizedmom.com/study. That's themonetizedmom.com/study. Again, themonetizedmom.com/study. Let's get on with the show. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to figure out exactly what you should be working on in your business. I'm going to share exactly how I determine what I need to prioritize and be doing on a day-to-day basis to move my business forward. So first and foremost, in order for you to know what you should be working on a day-to-day basis within your business, you need to understand what your business goals are. So you need to have some business goals established. And I did an episode on this previously where I said that I'm not necessarily making numbers my goals or metrics necessarily my goals, but I am more so focusing on what are the things that my business can afford me or do for me. So I want to be able to afford XYZ with my business income. So I'm focused on being able to do that versus hitting an arbitrary number. So to begin figuring out what you got to do on a day-to-day basis, you need to understand what is it that your goal is for your business. What is your ultimate goal for the year, the quarter, the month? What is your ultimate goal to be able to do? And then you can back that up into the daily tasks that you need to work on. Now, I recently just went back in and really got focused on my KPIs. And if you don't know what a KPI is, it is a key performance indicator. It tells you how well or how poorly your business is doing to your business goals. It's the metrics that allow you to see if you're on track for reaching your goals or if you're not on track. But it's also the data that you can use to determine where you need to pivot and the things that you need to be working on. So I did a deep dive into my KPIs and I identified 3 areas that I really wanted to focus on, and that will give me a good picture of whether or not I was meeting my business goals and heading in the right direction. So I like to call what I came up with, what I developed, the gap. So I am looking at the gap in my business. So these are the metrics that I'm reviewing to determine whether or not I'm heading in the right direction. So GAP obviously is an acronym because y'all know I'm good for an acronym and alliteration. So GAP stands for growth. So those are my metrics that I'm looking at to determine whether or not I'm growing in my business. Then the A stands for authority. So those are metrics that I'm looking at to determine whether I am gaining more authority in my niche. And then P is for profitability. So obviously these are the financials. Am I being profitable month over month? And what are the key things that are driving my profitability? So I'm going to go through each one of them. You can obviously leverage this in your business. This is just something that I came up with. So guys, if you share it, please give me credit. Okay. So let's dive in. Let's talk about growth. So for me, obviously, I am heavily driven by content. I produce content on my blog. I produce content on social media. That is how I'm able to drive growth, right? That's how I'm able to grow my audience. That's how I'm able to reach the target audience that I have, the people that I am called to serve. So when it comes to the growth of my business, some of the metrics that I am looking at include the number of page views that I have on my website. So am I trending higher each month? Month over month, am I getting more page views? So that is one way for me to measure whether or not I'm growing. I'm also looking at sessions. So if you guys are into Google Analytics, then you will understand what I mean by that. But I'm looking into the number of sessions that are spent on my website every month. I'm looking at my social media reach. So altogether, how many people am I reaching from the number of people who are on my Instagram, the number of people on my Pinterest, the number of people on my Facebook, all of my social media platforms. What is the reach for the business? I'm measuring that month over month. I'm also looking at the number of newsletter subscribers that I have. So how many people are actually opting in to my newsletter so that I'm able to communicate with them on a weekly basis? And then I'm also looking at the number of leads, which is essentially the same thing, but the number of leads that I'm getting into the other side of my business, which is the monetized mom. So those are all ways that I'm measuring growth in my business. So when I break that down and I look at those numbers, my activities need to be focused on what can drive growth in my business. So for instance, if I'm trying to grow the number of page views or eyeballs that are on my website, then I need to be doing activities that are going to drive people to the website. So that could mean I am posting on Pinterest. That could mean that I am posting on social media or Instagram or Facebook more often to drive people back to the website so that I'm getting more page views month over month. It could mean that I am producing more content such that there is more opportunity for there to be more eyeballs on the content that I'm producing. So that is what I mean by looking at those metrics, first determining what they are within those categories. And then from there, I can figure out exactly what I have to do in order to drive those metrics. So for instance, if I need more leads, then one of the activities I can do is I can do some organic marketing where I am going live more often and I'm giving a call to action on all of my posts. That is one thing that I implemented, making sure I have a proper call to action on all of my posts. It could also mean that I start running advertisements, which is something that I recently implemented in the business. So that is another activity that I can focus on to get the results that I want. So again, first it begins by determining what your goals are. And then from there, looking at the different metrics in your growth category, your authority category, and your profitability category. Now, obviously, yours may be different, but these are what's important for me to be able to reach my goals. Okay, so that is the growth category that I'm focused on. Then there's authority. So authority is pretty much being able to be recognized as the go-to person, as the expert in my niche. So that, I may get media coverage or people are obviously coming to me because they know that they'll be able to get valuable information. So I want to make sure I have good authority in my niche. Now, for most people, if you're not into like having a website or blogging, this probably won't be important because you won't necessarily have a metric to measure this by. But because I do have a website, there are ways that I can measure this metric. So for me, it is determining what my domain score is. Again, this may be foreign to you, but if you do have a website, if you are creating blog type content, then you understand what this is. I have a domain score, which tells me it's pretty much like a score from 0 to 1. And the higher your score is, kind of like any grading skill, that's the more authority that you have, meaning according to Google and according to search engines, you are a reputable source. So if I want my site to be viewed as an authority, I need that number to get higher. Another way that I'm able to measure that authority is by the number of articles I have ranking on Google. So Google ranks the articles based on their ability to answer the questions that are being searched on Google, and that in and of itself represent how much authority you have in that niche. So I measure the number of articles that I have ranking. And then lastly, I measure the number of backlinks and features that I have. So backlinks are links where websites are linking back to my site and quoting me in an article or quoting one of my articles in their post as a reference for information. So how many times am I being linked to? Is my website being linked to? Or how many times am I myself being featured or quoted in a reputable source? So for instance, I recently got quoted in an article that gets syndicated on Yahoo. How many times am I being quoted in a reputable article as an expert and authority? So I'm measuring all those things to determine how much my authority is growing in the niche. And there are metrics and there are ways that I can get this information, but I'm looking at this month over month to make sure, hey, I am ranking higher on Google each month, or I have more articles ranking higher on Google. I have a higher domain score. Domain authority score. I have more backlinks. I have more features. But in order for me to do all of that stuff, the daily actions that I have to do include pitching myself. that is a part of making sure that I get featured. So not everything is going to come to me. So I have to go out and proactively take action in order to get those features so that can grow over time and that I can build that authority. So this is how those metrics are telling me what I need to be doing on a daily, weekly, or whatever basis in order for that metric to improve. And lastly, I'm looking at profitability, which I think everyone should be looking at. So this isn't just my type of business saying everyone should be looking at their profitability. So this is where I'm looking at revenue. I'm also looking at revenue sources. I'm looking at our top income producing content or products. I'm looking at expenses. I'm doing a month-to-month comparison. I'm looking at the return on investment for things that we have invested in. So whether that's actually outsourcing stuff, what's the return on investment for that? What is the return on investment for ad spend? What is our cash flow? What is the margin? These are all things that I'm looking at on a monthly basis. And then on a quarterly basis, I'm reviewing it with our CPA to make sure we're headed in the right direction. So this is very important because obviously all the other stuff before this doesn't matter if it's not driving profitability, if I'm not bringing in revenue and that's not increasing, because that is part of what I'm looking to see, that the revenue is increasing as a byproduct of focusing on all that other stuff. So I'm looking at what are my sources of income and determining whether I need to pivot or if I need to get rid of something. I talked about this in another episode where I got rid of a lot of the products that I had before. So that's where I'm reviewing this to understand where are my income sources at. What opportunities do I have to increase income? So recently, here's a small thing. I was going through my income revenue sources and I was looking at some of my affiliates and I noticed some of my affiliates were picking up. So I was like, okay, I need to focus in on these and perhaps add more links to them or promote them more. I realized one of my affiliate links was broken, so I was missing out on money. So that was a daily activity that I now have a mental note to make sure all of my links are correct and that they're working so I'm not missing out on revenue opportunities. So these are the things that drive the activities that you do on a daily basis. Is my ad spend, does it have a good return on investment? Am I hitting those key metrics? So I have a file where I am tracking the metrics of my ads to make sure that they're actually going to be profitable and doing what they're supposed to do. And if not, I know what I need to pivot and adjust on a daily basis or whatever basis in order for me to be able to get the margins that I'm looking for. I'm looking at my expenses. What expenses do I no longer need? What are things that we just don't need in the business anymore, or there is a better option that's less expensive or that makes more sense? So these are the things that you need to be looking at to determine what are the things that you need to do on a daily basis within your business. So your business should not just be by happenstance. It's really important that you look at your data and you allow your data to drive the decisions that you make. So now when I need to know what I need to do, I go back to my KPI tracker and I say, okay, what am I trying to do this month? What are my numbers looking at? Okay, I'm trying to grow. These are the things that I need to do every day. I need to be posting a reel every day. I need to be posting 3 to 5 times a day. I need to be engaging in the comments. I need to be sending out more emails. Like, these are the things that dictate what you need to do on a daily basis. And as you continue to do those things and you can identify what's working and what's not. And so you can get even more strategic and hone in more on the things that you need to be working on. So, hey, if me posting a reel every single day is working and is driving growth and I'm seeing that in the metrics, then guess what? I'm going to continue to do that each and every day, right? So this is how you determine exactly what you should be working on in your business and how to determine whether or not you are progressing in your business. So hopefully this was helpful. Again, this is how I track my KPIs. I look at the gap. I look at growth, authority, and profitability. So if you like this comment, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. And if you think that you could benefit from working with me as your coach, don't forget to book a complimentary strategy session at themonetizedmom.com/apply. That's themonetizedmom.com/apply. Again, that's themonetizedmom.com/apply. I'll talk to you in the next episode.